The rain hammered the chapel roof like God's own judgment. Each drop an accusatory slap against the stained glass saints, who stared down impassively at the empty pew where Jason should have sat. "You're not family anymore," his father's voice had cracked over the phone 2 days ago, the words slicing deeper than any knife, leaving Jason crumpled on his Brooklyn apartment floor with a bottle of bourbon and the echo of Grandma Eleanor's laughter fading into silence. But as the casket gleamed under the dim chandelier, its polished oak whispering secrets no one dared to hear, Jason burst through the oak doors, soaked to the bone, his heart a wild drumbeat screaming for the one truth that could shatter them all. Jason stood there, water pooling at his feet on the worn Persian rug, his black wool coat clinging like a second skin, heavy with the storm outside and the one raging inside him. The chapel in upstate New York, Grandma Eleanor's favorite, the one with the crooked steeple she'd point out on drives from their Queens suburb, fell into a hush deeper than death itself. Heads turned. Aunt Lydia's pearl necklace froze mid-clutch, Uncle Ray's meaty fist tightened around his hymn book, and his sister Mia, ever the peacemaker, shot up from her seat with eyes wide as harvest moons. But it was his father, Harlan, standing ramrod straight by the altar like a general surveying a battlefield, whose face twisted into that familiar mask of righteous fury. "Jason," Harlan growled, low enough that the organist's prelude notes nearly drowned it, but the venom carried. "You weren't invited. Get out before you make a scene." The words landed like buckshot, but Jason didn't flinch. Not this time. He'd driven 4 hours through sheets of rain, the wipers slapping a rhythm to his rage, replaying every holiday dinner where Grandma Eleanor had slipped him extra slices of her pecan pie under the table, her arthritic fingers brushing his with a wink that said, "I see you, boy. All of you." She'd been the only one who knew, really knew, about the nights he'd spent in shadowed bars in the village, about the man who'd made his chest ache with something fiercer than fear. And now she was gone, felled by a stroke in her sleep at 82. And this family, this blood-thick knot of small-town holdouts transplanted to the sprawl of America, had drawn the line at him. "I'm here for her," Jason said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands as he shrugged off his coat, revealing the crisp white shirt beneath, sleeves rolled up like he was ready for a fight. Water dripped from his hair, tracing paths down his neck, and he felt every eye boring into him, the cousins whispering behind manicured hands, the distant relatives who'd only shown for the free catering. Mia reached for him, her touch featherlight on his arm, but he pulled away gently. "Not you. Not any of you. Her." Harlan stepped forward, his polished loafers clicking on the hardwood, the scent of his Old Spice cologne cutting through the lily's cloying sweetness. "She's dead because of stress. Stress from scandals. From choices like yours." The word yours hung there, laced with the old poison, the kind that had driven Jason out at 22, suitcase in hand, chasing dreams in New York while the family Bible thumped accusations from the mantel back home. Aunt Lydia gasped, fanning herself with the program. Eleanor May Whitaker, beloved mother and grandmother. And Uncle Ray muttered something about disgrace. But Jason's gaze locked on the casket. It was closed, per her wishes, but he'd seen the photo in the obituary. Grandma in her Sunday best, silver hair pinned just so, eyes twinkling with that mischievous spark. She'd written him letters after he came out, folded into envelopes scented with lavender, saying things like, "Love ain't a sin, Jason. It's the only holy thing we got." He'd kept them in a shoebox under his bed, talismans against the loneliness. The minister, a wiry man with a comb over that defied the humidity, cleared his throat. "Family, perhaps we should proceed." "No." Jason's interruption sliced the air. He moved toward the casket, ignoring the ripple of protests, his boots leaving wet prints like footprints in the sand of some biblical exodus. Mia followed, whispering, "Jay, please, don't." But he waved her off. Up close, the wood was warm under his palm, etched with faint carvings of vines and doves, symbols of peace this room had long forgotten. He leaned in, as if whispering a secret to an old friend. "You always said the truth comes out in the end, Graham." The family shifted uneasily. Someone coughed. Harlan's face reddened, veins bulging at his temples. "Boy, I'm warning you." But Jason straightened, eyes blazing. "Warning me? Like you warned her not to love me? To pretend I didn't exist?" The chapel erupted then, hushed outrage bubbling into murmurs, chairs scraping as relatives rose like a tide. Mia tugged at his sleeve, tears streaking her mascara. Dad didn't mean. He meant every word. Jason snapped, softer now for her. His sister was the bridge, the one who'd snuck him care packages during his first brutal winter in the city, laced with notes saying hang in there, bro. But even she couldn't cross this chasm today. The minister raised his hands, palms out like a referee. Mr. Whitaker, if we could just open it. The words tumbled from Jason's lips before he could stop them, born of desperation, of a half-remembered conversation in Grandma's kitchen, flower-dusted and warm, where she joked about her funeral being one last surprise party. The room stilled. Harlan barked a laugh, bitter as black coffee. Over my dead body. Then it's a good thing it's hers. Jason shot back, and in that moment, something shifted. A collective inhale, the air thickening with the weight of unspoken histories. Uncle Ray lumbered forward, but Mia blocked him, her voice breaking. Let him. For her. The argument stretched, taut as a bowstring, until the funeral director, a soft-spoken woman named Carla with kind eyes and a no-nonsense bun, intervened. Mrs. Whitaker left specific instructions, she said quietly, producing a sealed envelope from her pocket, the wax seal stamped with Eleanor's initial. To be opened if discord arises. Harlan snatched it, but his hands shook as he broke the seal. The letter inside fluttered like a white flag. He scanned it, face draining of color, then passed it to Lydia, who read aloud in a voice that cracked like thin ice. My darlings, if you're fighting at my send-off, it's because you forgot what family means. Blood don't make it, love does. And Jason, he's got more of my heart than any of you. Open the box inside. Let it speak. The casket's latch clicked under Carla's steady fingers, and as the lid lifted with a sigh, the scent of dried roses wafted up. Nestled among the satin folds, atop Grandma's rosary and a faded photo of the family at Coney Island. Jason, small and grinning between her knees, was a leather-bound journal, its cover embossed with Eleanor's truths, and taped to the first page, a Polaroid. Jason and his ex, Marco, arms wrapped around each other on a fire escape at sunset, laughing, alive with a joy the family had never allowed. Gasps rippled through the pews. Harlan staggered back, clutching the pew for support. She knew. Jason's throat tightened, tears finally spilling hot and unchecked. He'd hidden that photo after Marco left, after the fights about fitting in, about Harlan's calls demanding Jason man up. But Grandma had found it during a visit, slipped it into her purse with a smile. Proof of life, she'd called it. The journal's pages, when Mia flipped them open with trembling hands, spilled secrets like confetti. Eleanor's own youth in the 50s, loving a woman named Ruth in stolen moments behind speakeasies. Her silent support for Jason's coming out, letters to Harlan begging him to see your son, not your shame. Entries decrying the family's bigotry, how it had chipped away at her like acid rain. You hid this, Jason whispered to his father, voice raw. Harlan met his gaze, eyes glassy, the general's armor cracking. I thought I was protecting us, protecting her. From what? Love? The word echoed, and the chapel seemed to breathe with it. Cousins averting eyes, Lydia dabbing at her nose, even Uncle Ray slumping into his seat like a deflated balloon. As the rain eased to a patter, Jason knelt by the casket, tracing the journal's edge. Grandma's hand, cool now, but once so warm, rested folded over her chest, a silver locket glinting at her throat. He clicked it open. Inside, twin photos, Ruth faded beside a crisp one of Jason and Marco. Family she'd written on the back in her looping script. The service resumed in fits and starts, eulogies stumbling over the revelations. But Jason stayed, Marco's ghost a shadow at his side. No, not ghost. Marco had texted last night, I'm here if you need me, after hearing the news. Jason hadn't replied yet, the wound too fresh from their breakup. But now, with truth laid bare, possibility flickered like a match in the dark. By the graveside later, under a sky bruising purple, Harlan approached, shoulders hunched against the chill. Son, he started, the word foreign on his tongue after years of silence. Jason braced, but his father extended the journal. She wrote about you more than anyone, said you were her light. Jason took it, the leather soft as a promise. Then why'd you shut me out? Harlan's jaw worked, eyes on the descending casket. Fear, I guess, of losing the family I thought we were. A beat, then quieter. But she was right. You're all I've got left of her fire. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was a crack in the wall wide enough for light. Mia hugged him fierce, whispering apologies. And as the dirt pattered down like hesitant rain, Jason felt the weight lift, just a fraction. Grandma's truth had unearthed more than bones. It had planted seeds in barren soil. But truths, Jason knew, had a way of digging deeper. That night, back in his motel room off the thruway, the journal open on the bedspread, he read on. Pages of Eleanor's quiet rebellions, her coded letters to Ruth during the war, the ache of a love society deemed unnatural. It mirrored his own scars. The bar in Chelsea where he'd met Marco. Their first kiss tasting of gin and freedom. The nights Marco's hand in his had felt like armor against the world's grind. Marco. The name conjured him vividly. Tall, with that easy grin and tattooed forearms that Jason had traced lazy circles on during lazy Sundays in their tiny walk-up. They'd met at a poetry slam in the East Village, Jason spitting verses about fractured homes, Marco countering with lines on mending them. 6 months of fire, then the slow burnout. Marco's job transfer to LA, Harlan's voicemails laced with "come home. Fix this," and the unspoken plea in Marco's eyes. Choose us or them. "I chose me," Jason murmured to the empty room. But the journal's words blurred through fresh tears. Ruth chose herself too in the end, and it set her free. Was that the lesson? Or just another pretty lie? His phone buzzed. Mia. "Dad wants to talk tomorrow. Breakfast?" Then, unbidden, Marco's number. Saw the obit. "Thinking of you. Call if you want." Jason's thumb hovered. Heart a riot. The rain had stopped. Stars pricked the black sky outside. Indifferent witnesses. He dialed, voice cracking on the first ring. "Hey, I need you here." Marco's laugh was soft, surprised. "Flights booked for morning. Pack the bourbon, we've got stories to tell." Dawn broke over the hills, gilding the Whitaker plot where fresh earth mounded like a promise. The family gathered awkwardly at the diner. Lydia nursing coffee, Ray grumbling over eggs, Mia bridging gaps with small talk. Harlan slid into the booth last, eyes shadowed. A man who'd wrestled ghosts all night. "Read it all?" he asked Jason, nodding at the journal tucked under his arm. "Most." Jason sipped his black coffee, bitter as regret. "She loved you, Dad, even when you made it hard." Harlan nodded, slow. "I was raised different. Church said. Church says a lot of things." Jason's tone sharpened, but he reined it. "Graham showed me love's bigger." The booth fell quiet, fork scraping plates. Then Harlan leaned in. "That boy in the picture. Marco, he good to you?" Jason's chest hitched. "Was. Might be again." The admission hung, vulnerable, but Harlan didn't recoil. Instead, he grunted. "Bring him next time. For her." It was olive branch, tentative but real. Mia beamed, squeezing Jason's knee under the table. As they paid up, the bell jingled, and there, framed in the doorway like a hallucination, stood Marco, duffel slung over one shoulder, hair windswept from the drive. "You flew." Jason rose, pulse thundering. "Red eye from LAX. Couldn't let you face this alone." Marco's eyes, dark and steady, held the question. "Are we okay?" Harlan cleared his throat, standing awkward. "You the one from the photo?" Marco nodded, cautious. "Yeah, sir." A beat, then Harlan extended a hand. "Welcome to the mess." The handshake lingered, a bridge over chasms. Outside, as they walked the cracked sidewalk, Jason slipped his fingers into Marco's, the fit familiar, right? The journal weighed light in his jacket. Eleanor's voice a whisper. Truth reveals, but love redeems. Weeks blurred into autumn's blaze, leaves torching the Hudson Valley as Jason shuttled between Brooklyn's hum and upstate's quiet. The family thawed unevenly. Mia visited with takeout and apologies. Lydia sent clippings of those gay pride things with tentative notes. Even Ray grunted approval over a Mets game on TV. Harlan was slowest, his calls stiff but steady, probing like a man learning a new language. Marco stayed, their apartment filling with his laugh again. Cooking pozole on rainy nights, debating Scorsese films till dawn. But scars lingered. One evening, Post-dinner haze. Marco traced Jason's knuckles. Your dad's invite. You believe it. Jason hesitated, journal open on the coffee table. Graham did. That's enough start. The high came crashing mid-November, at Thanksgiving, the first in years without exile. The old Whitaker house in Queens loomed, sagging porch and all, strung with lights like fragile hope. Jason pulled up with Marco's hand in his, the trunk packed with Eleanor's pie recipe, bourbon for toasts. Inside, the air hummed with turkey and tension. Harlan clapped Marco's back too hard. Aunt Lydia fluttered with questions. So, what do you do? And Mia orchestrated like a pro, but undercurrents swirled. Uncle Ray's side eyes, a cousin's whispered fairy that Mia shut down sharp. Dinner unfolded in fits. Grace led by Harlan, voice thick. For family, however it comes. Then plates passed, stories swapped. Marco charmed. Tales of LA sunsets and script gigs. But Jason caught Harlan's gaze lingering. Not hostile, but searching. Then the bomb. Lydia, wine loose, leaned in. Eleanor. She had secrets, didn't she? That journal, Ruth? Was she? Like you boys? The table froze. Harlan's fork clattered. Jason's pulse spiked. Betrayal's echo. The family's gaze shifting from curiosity to judgment. She was family, Jason said, voice steel. Loved who she loved. Graham honored that. Ray snorted. Sounds like scandal. Or strength, Marco cut in, hand on Jason's thigh under the table. Hiding love's the real sin. Harlan slammed his palm down, glasses rattling. Enough. This ain't. Is exactly what Graham wanted, Jason interrupted, shoving back his chair. Truth at the table, not whispers. He stormed out, Marco trailing, the screen door slamming like finality. On the stoop, cold air bit, stars sharp overhead. Marco pulled him close. We can go. No. Jason breathed deep, journal's weight in his pocket a talisman. Fight's not over. They re-entered to stunned silence. Harlan on his feet. Son. Read this. Jason thrust the journal open to Ruth's page. Eleanor's words raw. They called it wrong, but it was right. Don't let them bury your light, Harlan. We're Jason's. Harlan scanned, face crumpling. God. I failed her. You can fix it. Jason's voice broke. Start with us. The room exhaled. Mia rose, hugging him fierce. Lydia teared up. Ray mumbled sorry, kid. Harlan pulled Jason into a bear hug, the first since boyhood, whispering, proud of you. Finally see it. That night, as snow dusted the lawn, Jason and Marco lay tangled in the guest room, breaths sinking like old times. Think it'll stick? Marco murmured. Love does, Jason replied, kissing his temple. Eleanor's truth had cracked the coffin, but it was this vulnerable, messy, that mended the family. Winter deepened, holidays a tentative rhythm. Christmas with lights on the tree and Marco's gift of a leather bracelet engraved truth redeems. Spring brought renewal. Harlan visiting the city. Awkward beers at a Williamsburg dive. Toasting to second chances. Jason proposed to Marco on the Brooklyn Bridge at dusk. Ring simple silver, knees knocking as he knelt. You're my family. Always were. Marco's yes was a sob. Their kiss salt-sweet under the cables. By summer, the plot at the cemetery bloomed wildflowers. Eleanor's stone etched loved fiercely. The family gathered, no exclusions. Picnic baskets unpacked, stories flowing. Harlan shared a letter he'd found. Grandma's plea. Embrace him, or lose us both. Jason sat with Marco's head on his shoulder. Journal passed hand to hand. Truths no longer buried. Betrayal's sting faded to scar. A reminder. Love, once revealed, roots deep. And in the quiet, Jason whispered to the wind, thanks, Graham, for the light.